United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't even want to move this.
All right. Then we are at public input. Anybody here for public input? Public input? Okay.
He said he was just listening.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then next we'll move on to review and approve council agenda.
Second. Vic.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the council agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item A, approve lower potency hemp registration for Holiday Superstores LLC. B, approve resolution setting a public hearing on the certification of delinquent accounts. C, approve temporary gambling permit application for Prairie Edge Gobblers. D, authorize sale of surplus equipment from Tower 3. E, authorize sale of the 1999 LT 9500 plow truck. F, approve the 10th Avenue project memorandum on environmental risk.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then regular agenda, item A, the 2025 audit review and funds transfer.
All right, good evening, hello. I'm Justin McGrath, I'm CES, the city's auditors. I'm here tonight to present to you the results of your 2025 audit. You probably got a few different products. Okay, you probably got a few different products from us as auditors. The one that's on the screens, the thinner bound copy that you have, this is the presentation I'm going to cover tonight. It's the format we're going to follow. Everything in there is derived from your audited financial statements themselves, as well as your what we call a management letter from us as auditors to you at the council level. Excuse me, to let you know how the audit went. So I'll jump into it if at any point you have questions. Your financial statements are a good spot. A good resource to use, but feel free to interrupt me if anything does come up as I go through the presentation. Page 1. So it jumps into what our independent audit report is. The responsibilities of both parties, you as the city, us as your auditors, describes the intent of our audit, which is determine if your financial statements are presented fairly. And in big bold letters at top there, you can see your financial statements are presented fairly in our opinion. They can be relied upon for gauging performance of the city, as well as for future decision-making purposes. On page 2, we go into a little bit more on what is inside of our independent auditor's report. Management discussion and analysis, that's an important part of your financial statements. It's required supplementary information, but it gives your management team, your administrative team here, a chance in more of a narrative format to describe some of the activities, some of the changes that happened in your balances during the year. And then at the very end of our financial statements is the internal control letter. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in our presentation. On page 3, we jump into the numbers. So starting with your statement of net position, this is the overall balance sheet of the city, if you will. And we look at it at 2 points in time, December 31st, 2025 and December 31st, 2024. So you can see where some of the changes happened in your balances during the year. Starting at the top, current assets. These would be items like your cash balances, accounts receivable balances, amounts owed to you from other governments. You see a pretty significant increase in your current assets in 2025 compared to 2024. Cash is the main driver of that increase. Obviously, the new bond issuance, 2025A bonds were issued. That was a little over $30 million. You issued those bonds in 2025. You did have some construction costs, and there was some use of that cash, but a lot of it is still on hand at the end of the year for the public safety facility project that's going on. Utility funds also saw an increase in their cash balances, largely due to the results of operations as well as investments within those funds. Your non-current assets, these are items like your capital items, infrastructure, equipment, vehicles. With the construction in progress is another one of those items. With the amount of construction that was done on that public safety facility, that's where you're seeing a big increase in those balances. So the additions to your capital assets really outpaced your disposals and the depreciation of those current outstanding assets. On the bottom half there, current liabilities. These are largely your routine bills, things, accounts payable, salaries, wages payable, contracts payable is a part of your current liabilities as well. And that's the increase you're seeing there related to that public safety facility project for work that was done prior to year end and paid for after year end. And then your long-term liabilities, primarily your debt balances, your pension liability with the PERA is in that as well. But your debt balances did see that increase. You issue new debt. Like I said, it was a little over $30 million that drove up your long-term liabilities. You did make your scheduled debt payments during the year, so that helped offset some of that increase. But with the debt issuance that you had, you saw an increase in your long-term liabilities here in 2025. And at the very bottom, your net position. So if you could pay off, if you could sell all the assets of the city and pay off all your debt, this is what you would have left over. You can see a lot of it is invested in your physical assets, so buildings, equipment, infrastructure. But you do have restricted net position there as well for your debt service funds, where that cash can only really be used to make those debt payments. And then your the local option sales tax funds. Those also have restrictions on the use of those funds, especially with the public safety facility, local sales tax. You've been collecting on sales tax for a couple of years now, but you haven't had any of those large debt payments yet to use that. That did happen here in 2026, but in 25 you only had an interest payment. So the anticipation is that'll go down as those debt payments use those funds. And this slide is all activities, all operations, all funds of the city rolled up at one point in time, December 31st, 2025. On page 4, we'll jump into the individual funds, starting with the general fund. Your general fund cash and investment balances. You did see an increase in your cash balances. If you have a chance to look at your activity statement or that income statement, you can see the increase in the cash in the general fund largely mirrors your increase in fund balance. So what revenues exceeded expenditures. And on page 5, we look at the activity of the general fund. So I mentioned revenues exceeding expenditures, resulting in an increase in that fund balance. And we'll look at the revenues and the expenditures in a little bit more detail in the next few slides. But one thing on this slide is looking at that fund balance. One metric we like to use as auditors is looking at the fund balance of the general fund and seeing how many months worth of expenditures does the general fund have sitting in its unassigned fund balance. And at the end of 2025, you had about 9 months worth of expenditures sitting in your fund balance. It was a pretty healthy target amount to be. 6 to 12 months is usually what we recommend. You guys are kind of right in the middle of that. A lot of your big revenue sources for the general fund come in about 6 months apart, especially those property tax remittances. So if you can maintain at least 6 months in that fund balance, you should be sitting pretty good for any large unexpected expenditures for the general fund or any delays in those property tax remittances. Speaking of property taxes and revenues, on page 6, here we look at the general fund revenues. We look at it by source. So where does general fund get the money that it's spending? Tax revenues have historically been the largest source of revenue for the general fund. That's no change. Here in 2025, you did see an increase in those revenue amounts that was reflected in your levy. So it wasn't a big surprise to see property tax revenues go up. Your intergovernmental revenues remained pretty steady in 2025. Your other sources of revenues did go down, largely due to lesser reimbursement revenue. I think Excel had reimbursed for some street work done in 2024. You didn't have that in 2025. And then your other financing sources, these are things like transfers into the fund, sales of capital assets, or when you enter into lease or subscription-based IT agreements, those proceeds from those agreements are recorded as an other financing source. And that's what you're seeing the increase here with you have a new lease and a new subscription-based IT arrangement related to body cameras and the software to support their usage. Looking at the expenditures on page 7. So all those revenues being brought in by the general fund, what department is using them? You can see here public safety, public works are the two departments with the highest usage of those general fund revenues. That public safety increase you're seeing is largely due to those capital purchases. So those body cameras entering in those subscription-based IT arrangements. That's what's driving up the public safety increase here in 2025. Public works is down a little bit, in 25 compared to 24. Just maybe you had lesser amounts of street projects that were being done. So again, capital activity is what's driving the decrease that you're seeing there. In the cultural and rec, there's a decrease in that compared to 2024. And if you had a chance to look at your general fund budget versus your actual, your operating costs came in under budget for your cultural rec department. So you saw an overall decrease in those expenditures here in 2025. On page 8, moving away from the general fund to some of the other funds of the city, starting with your special revenue funds. The special revenue fund is designed or set up to capture all the revenues and expenses related to providing a specific service within the city, and hopefully that service is self-sustaining. The first one on there is your local sales tax revenue. You did have a pretty healthy increase in that fund balance. The revenues from that fund or that local sales tax does help make some debt payments. So money is transferred out of that fund to help service the 2018 aid debt. Another one, the parkland development. There's some smaller improvements made at a couple of the city parks. So you saw a decrease in that fund balance. The Economic Development Authority, that's one that's kind of been dormant for a few years. And now there is tax levy dollars, attributed to that fund to help support any EDA initiatives in and around the city. So that one did have an increase in its fund balance, largely due to those tax revenues. More special revenue funds on page 9. The public safety facility sales and use tax. This is the one I touched on a little bit earlier. You see it did have an increase in fund balance as well. This is really, I think it's the second full year of that fund collecting those sales and use tax. And you can see the fund balance it has available to make those debt payments as they start coming due. In the TIF districts, you got 3 TIF districts still sitting out there with funds available to finance improvements within those different within those districts. So that's just another one to keep in mind as needs arise. You do have some funds available for improvements within those specific TIF districts. Page 10, capital project funds. You only have one capital project fund open here in 2025. It's the big one, the Public Safety Facility Capital Project Fund. Had a very, very large increase in fund balance. That's all debt related. That's those debt proceeds being put in that fund to be used for construction costs. And you can see how much is left on hand at the end of the year in 2025. Page 11. So we're moving away from the governmental activities to the business type activities of the city. The utility funds, starting with the water fund. Again, you can see your cash and investment balances not only in 2025, but the prior 4 years. So you kind of see where that balance has been. You can see the increase you had here in 2025. And if you have a chance to look at your cash flow statement, cash provided by operations is a big driver of that. Cash provided from investments is the other big driver of that. There's minor capital activity to use some of your cash balances here. So you kind of see the results of that activity or those operations residing in your cash balance here at the end of the year. On page 12, the activity of the water fund. You did see a pretty large increase in your revenues. This is both operating revenues from water sales, things like that, and non-operating revenues like investment income. One item that's in there this year that's kind of a unique item is proceeds from lawsuit proceeds from the 3M DuPont. That's probably going to be a one-off item here in 2025. I think it was just around 1.1 million you received. So that's what's really driving that increase you're seeing in your revenues is on the non-operating side, not so much the operating side. Your operating expenses did increase in 2025. Repairs and maintenance was a big driver of that, with some water meter replacements being done around the city. You saw increased repair and maintenance expense. Sewer fund. So your cash and investment balance of the sewer fund, similar story to the water fund. If you look at your cash flow statement, cash provided by operations, cash from your investments is what's building up that reserve in that sewer fund, or that cash reserve, I should say, within that sewer fund. Page 14, you can see the results of operations. Revenue did increase in 2025. Sewer access charges were up for connections to the system. So you're seeing an increase in your revenues partly from that. And then your expenses, they did go up as well. The largest expense of the fund is the contracted sewer services with the city of St. Cloud. And I know you do probably have some say in that, but that is largely directed towards you. What those are going to be, especially with the improvements to their plant and their capacity, So that was 1.1 million as well for those costs here just in 2025. And the last one is the stormwater fund. Stormwater fund's a smaller fund of the three utility funds, but did have an increase in cash balances. There's relatively minor capital activity, repairs and maintenance done on the storm sewer system in and around the city. So those charges for those storm sewer charges are just kind of flowing through your cash balance, waiting for any repairs that do need to be made or improvements to be made within the system itself. And then on page 16, you can kind of see that revenues were pretty consistent, but your expenses were down a little bit just because repair, maintenance, contracted services were down for the system as a whole. Page 17, we move away from the numbers a little bit to some of the compliance items that the city has to be on top of. First one being municipal leave compliance with state statutes from things like contracts and bidding, depository of public funds, issuance of debt. And we're happy to report we came across no issues of noncompliance from the items we tested here within the city. And that usually tells us a couple different things as your auditors, is that your administrative team here knows what those laws are, and two, they're making sure they're being followed. So hats off to everybody who has a part in that process for making sure the city stays in line with state statutes. I mentioned internal control a little bit earlier in my presentation. This is one with our government auditing standards. We look at how financial information flows through the city from the time maybe a bill comes in the mail to the time a check goes out in the mail to pay that bill. We don't have a lot. We do have one item that if you've heard me speak before, you probably heard me talk about it, but it's auditor prepared financial statements. So while the products you have in front of you are all derived from your financial information, we do put it in this format with the required note disclosures, supplementary information. So we just have to disclose that from auditors to you at the governance level. And then in addition to the audited financial statements that we issue we call it a management letter, but it's a letter from us as auditors to you at the governance level to let you know how the audit went. Any change in your accounting practices or difficulties encountered, and we're happy to report none. We do ask a lot of your team here, or your administrative team here within the city, but it's not just them. We ask a lot of your engineers, your banks, the county, the state. There's probably others I'm leaving out. We're very grateful for everybody's help in getting us the information we need to complete our audit, so I can be here tonight and deliver the audit report. And then on page 19, if we have any recommendations, we'd like to place them in that letter as well. And we have two items that are probably more informational than a recommendation. There's two new accounting standards that are coming out that will impact your 2026 financial statements. The first one being GASB 103, and that's probably the biggest impact you're going to see out of the two. It's going to change the format of your financial statements. It's going to add more requirements for more information to your financial statements. Things like your budgetary to actual variances that happen between what you budgeted, what actually came in on your revenues and expenditures, the reasons for those large variances, if there are any. Those would be some of the new items that you'll see in 2026 in your financial statements. And then GASB 104, this is a new one that may or may not have a substantial impact on your financial statements, but if you have capital assets or assets that you're using to provide services within the city and you intend to sell them, there's a few different disclosure requirements, things like is it held for collateral for any debt within the city, what the fair value of that capital asset is within the city, and what's the intent to sell for the city. So that one may be more hit or miss if it's applicable or not, but we just wanted to make you aware that that is a change that's coming out here for 2026. And then on page 20 is my contact information. So if you're looking through some of the stuff in your free time and questions do pop up, feel free to call or email, or if you're down in Litchfield, stop by our office. So with that, does anybody have any questions for me right now?
Not for you. I would assume we didn't make our first debt service payment for the public safety facility, correct? So when do we make that first one? What time of the year generally, or?
So I do know the answer if you want me to take it.
Yeah,
So you made your first interest payment back in December of 25.
yeah.
And then the first principal payment was probably last month or 2 months ago in June. Yeah, I think it's like June 15th and December 15th is when those payments come out.
Is that once a year that we make that payment? Twice a year. Okay. Do you know how much we pay? What's a payment on that debt service?
I don't know that.
We can look here. I want to say your first interest payment was like $830 $1,000 back in December. And your first principal one, I don't remember. I think we have it in here. But look. It's gonna be, yeah, in 2026, you probably should have paid, what, $1.4 million? Does that sound about right? Yeah. For the.
And that's
CIP.
twice a year, you think?
Yeah.
Principal is once a year. the
Well,
interest is
yeah,
twice.
that's true. The
Yeah.
principal is once a year, the interest is split in two.
And that would have been the principal payment.
Yep.
Yeah, so the second payment I make is just interest for the year, for the rest of the year.
And that was roughly 800,000. All right, thanks.
Any other questions?
I just want to thank you, Justin, and your staff for, you guys do a great job, and our staff as well for all the work that goes into putting it together. This year went really well. And
I
we
agree.
appreciate the partnership and working together to get through it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all your help. And like I said, no other questions. If you do come across questions, feel free to reach out. So with that, I'll let you get on with the rest of your meeting.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
So then before you is the motion to accept the audit report and then to approve the transfer of the sales tax into the
Are they
general fund.
separate?
Nope, it can be
The
together.
fund transfer and accept the $25
Where's the
one. Yeah, there it is.
I'll move to approve the fund transfer and accept the 2025 audit report. I would have mentioned the dollar amount, but I don't remember it. It was
Oh, the transfer.
800 and something thousand dollars, I
Oh, what
think.
the amount was? Here.
Yeah.
is
The
it up
I
transfer
here?
read it.
amount was 443,300.
All
Was the
right.
transfer of the sales tax.
Put it in the minutes. And
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Vic. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And we'll move on to item B, 23rd Avenue improvements.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council again. We have before you tonight the 2023 or the 23rd Avenue South improvements. We talked about this starting, well, over the winter. We held a public hearing in February. At that time, I said 6 months from now, we need to talk about that. And well, it's been 6 months. So if the council would like to move forward with the project, we can do so tonight without further hearings. This is just the end of our time. If the council chooses to wait, then we will have to hold the hearings again, start the process over, do the advertising and that kind of thing. Not the end of the world, but just so you guys know, this is where our time frame is up here. So I did put the assessment roll in front of you guys just as a reminder of what the impact is to the residents. I did have one resident mention that I should speak on his behalf that wasn't at the hearing. Paul Molitor said he would be very much in favor of the project. And he asked me to tell you that. So that's the one that you guys didn't hear. Otherwise, you guys remember the commentary from that meeting. But basically, we have a couple of options here. We either move it forward and then build this project in 2027. We say we're going to hold off on this, and then the council tells us when we do the street work, if we do the street work, and then Zach's guys throw a mutiny because they're going to try to maintain that road. Or some other combination of that you guys can dream up in the future. But basically now is our chance to do it within the 429 process, the statute of the assessment process, and move it forward. So if you would move it forward tonight, there are still jumping off points before we build it. I mean, you'll have to authorize bidding, you'll have to offer, so there are several times, but anytime we move it forward, you start incurring more cost, as you know. So those are the implications. Here for questions if you got them.
Yeah, I think you just said we'd do the build out in 27.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to, but that's just my personal opinion. If I were to make a motion, it would be to deny the improvements, at least for now. All right, well, that's a motion.
You can make a motion if you want to.
I'll second.
You'll
Vic,
second?
did you second that?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to deny the build-out. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, you can go, Frank.
I'd rather wait till the neighborhood comes around to our way of thinking. And then for sure, we'll get all them solar panels and whatever equipment dragged down that cobblestone road. So once we know that that project is complete, maybe the neighbors will have come around and we can move forward again.
Whereas I think we need to get that road repaired as soon as possible, and there's no point in not doing all of it together, because that would be just wasteful. So I think it's a tough love situation where it's for the best, even if not everybody's going to agree, but no one's ever going to agree on the same thing.
Would like to add to, like, coming out of our water fund, we have a dark cloud hanging over our head at the water plant that we don't know how much this is gonna cost. And hopefully by 2027, we'll have a better estimate of what that's going to be and what that finance looks like. But I'm a little lenient to take out a substantial amount of money out of that with knowing that that water plant is coming at us.
So does that mean you're not wanting to do it? No, you don't get a say, I know.
But that's what you're saying.
Yes, I think that's what I read out of it.
Yeah, the road's in awful shape, but it is what it is. I haven't, since we've had the hearing, I haven't gotten one call about potholes out there from any residents or anybody driving the road. So,
Well, it's hard for some of them to justify when it's over $100,000, how they get that value or that improvement money back. So it's, with all the other things going on in that area, it just seems logical to hold off.
Okay. All right. All in favor of holding it off till 2027?
I'd like you to read the motion back first.
You want me to do that,
Yeah,
Mayor? The motion is to deny the improvements.
Deny the resolution which will halt utility installation until a future public hearing is held and the project advanced at that time.
So you would have to start the process
Over.
over again.
Yeah,
to-
so his
Hearing, all of that.
his motion is for option number 2 up on the screen, if you can see that.
Well, primarily the reason I seconded it was to get this discussion going
Yep.
before we had to vote.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Guess what?
3-2?
Well,
Wait.
it depends what I say.
Yes,
Oh,
it
you,
does.
I didn't know that you
Yeah,
voted.
that's
You
what I
have to
was
vote.
wondering.
No,
I always,
Break the tie.
I
Oh.
break the ties,
Yeah.
right?
You vote with everybody
vote.
else.
You just
vote.
did vote.
You vote, you don't, yeah,
Just vote.
yes.
Okay, I would say do the project.
You're voting with our side.
Yep.
Okay, so that, all that did,
You failed.
all that did was made Frank's motion fail.
Yep.
So that means a new motion would have to be made.
And I'll tell you, I need 4/5 majority because it's council initiated.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
little different than normal. I don't need a plain majority. I need 4/5.
Okay,
If it was petitioned, it's just a simple majority. But because it's initiated by the council, I need 4/5.
Yeah, okay. We want to do
Do we
the
just let it
project.
die then? Is that,
well, you can make
can make
any
the motion
motion
and
you
see what
want. Right
happens.
now, there's nothing that's made.
okay, I move to approve the project as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the project as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
3-2, doesn't matter.
So does that give you sufficient, because basically you have no motion.
How do you vote, Ken?
Yeah, in which case, then it's just like the council took no action.
No
Right,
action.
yeah.
And that
Okay.
just,
I just want to verify
yep,
that to
so
make sure.
our
Okay.
6-month window expires
Got
as
it.
of August 17th. So
Perfect.
in theory, we could revisit at the next meeting if we so chose, but I wouldn't encourage that because that's exactly 6 months to the day.
Yeah,
And that's questionable. So this was the right timing to act.
Okay.
And then we wait till the complaints come.
Yes, please.
Do we have to bring this back up in 2027?
We want to.
We don't have to. At no point are we obligated to do so, but I think, I would assume this council would like to see it brought up again a year from now, seeing if any progress has been made by Trisco's. And that was really when we asked the council back in February to hold on it, it's because Trisco's had a proposal. Well, that proposal hasn't progressed, as you guys noted in the report here. So yeah, we're under no obligation at this point. It's pretty much like it never happened. The feasibility is done, so we just have to start over again if and when we decide to do so.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, then we'll move on to item C. Repeal and replace ordinance 92 noxious weeds.
Mr. Mayor, council members, this request is also initiated by city staff regarding the proposed repeal and replacement of current city ordinance 92 titled noxious weeds to accommodate and facilitate the use of native or natural plantings and vegetation as part of lawns and landscaping, as is now required by state statute. Until now, we as a city have been addressing native planting requests or situations on case-by-case, kind of informal basis. What the proposed ordinance would do would be formalize that allowance and establish an application and permitting process, fairly straightforward for those interested in utilizing these options. The proposed ordinance repeals and replaces the entirety of the current ordinance. I don't anticipate that we'd see a high level of usage by residents and property owners of the allowance at this time at least. But the revisions would definitely save us some staff time when these have been brought forward in the past few years. They tend to be time consuming just because they're unique and different. And it also ensures city compliance with state statutes regarding the issue. The proposed amendments have been posted on the city website ahead of the council meeting as requested or as required for public review and consideration as well. We have not, or at least I have not received any comments or concerns. I would just note that as part of assuming you would approve this, Public Works has been working on drafting up some yard signs as well, that if someone does this, that they could stick in their yard, just informing that this is a native, approved city yard, that clarifies that for passersbys. Maybe save a little grief for those getting called in, and it gives them a little bit of a pat on the back too, which is kind of nice if they're doing it well. And also we'll be looking forward to putting an application form together, assuming an approval tonight. So my recommendation would be to approve the ordinance as submitted. I would note it does incorporate some revisions based off of the earlier work session that touched up a little bit. And again, recommendation to adopt the proposed ordinance repealing and replacing, and approve publication of the summary publication.
Move to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve it as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 5-0. All right, I suppose it's time we pay the bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Then any other updates? Then I need a motion.
Primary election next Tuesday, August 11th.
Oh, nice. All right, now I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, we have motion second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 7:04.